Good afternoon, gang. David Guppel, Thinker Farmer here. I'm here at the Virginia, it's actually the National South Pole Field Day, and this was one of the main guest speakers, Jordan Thomas. He's originally from Missouri, and been a couple years, Jordan, since I'd seen you out there when I worked at Greg Judy's. And this is a really passionate guy about doing things right in regenerative farming and making things profitable. Jordan, would you mind sharing some of your background or your story in farming?
Sure. So I grew up on I always say it's a commercial cow-calf operation, but it really was my grandpa's kind of hobby.
Oh.
You know, I mean, he was retired and had done several things over the course of his life, but you know, it was his hobby. He had grown up farming as well and had lost his dad at a really young age and sort of took over the family farm, and kind of lost the family farm in, you know, kind of that depression time of life that a lot of folks live through. And so he had bought a farm in his adulthood, really, as kind of his own operation. And so I grew up on that and just really loved him, really loved getting to work with him all the time. And you know how it is, it kind of seeps into your blood a little bit. So I never quite lost that. And did some other things in life. You know, I was really passionate about playing music and played music a lot. And
what did you play?
Well, I still do, but you know, was playing a little bit, mostly guitar and things like that. But
That's awesome.
sing and did a lot of that kind of stuff for a number of years, and was also you know, going to graduate school, and initially thought I would, you know, do the veterinarian kind of life, and then realized I don't really want to work with sick animals. I want to work with healthy animals. And I think if I'd known a little bit more at the time, maybe wouldn't have thought quite that way about vet med. There's lots of things that veterinarians do that are really cool, but I ended up getting really bit by the research bug. And so it's like once you go to grad school and get a research project that you're really interested in, something happens, and it's a little bit addictive, because at least the kind of research that I do, somebody might use it next year. You know what I mean? Like there's something that might make somebody, you know, more money, or might make their operation
if you find
successful.
what's true and what works. That's right.
Yeah, so we got really interested in synchronization research, and my lab kind of tends to still focus on synchronization research. So that's how you set cattle up before artificial insemination or before embryo transfer or something like that. So we tend to work in that space. Ended up getting a Ph.D. in a faculty position at the University of Missouri, and still there, and started off in extension and then moved into more of a research and teaching role. So I teach a couple classes and still do a lot of research, and then also still actually farm on my grandparents' farm, believe it or not.
Man.
And so they've both passed away now, but that's okay. But really fortunate to still get to run some cows there.
Yeah, so what do you like or love so much about farming? It's clearly in your roots. You grew up doing some of it. And specifically, I guess, the research side of things, because that sounds like that's your passion.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe I'll get a little bit out there. So I'm a Christian, and I really think that, like, you know, when we are engaged with the world, the earth, we're sort of participating in this renewal process that is kind of an image of, like, Christ's transformation of us and all of those sorts of things. And I really believe in that, and there's an element of that is really rewarding for me, about kind of, you know, getting your hands dirty and working the soil and sort of being one with nature, so to speak, is this connectedness and this active participation in what feels like stewardship. And so that's really probably the primary motivating factor. I mean, the other things are helping people, right? In theory, you're feeding people and feeding people a healthy product. And, you know, I love the animals, I love the plants, I love all of that. And my wife is also really passionate about that same area. She manages an operation in Northwest Arkansas, and so we just sort of bond over all of that stuff as well. So it's just really rewarding from a lot of different angles, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna pull on that thread if that's okay with you. Right. So it sounds like you've got a lot of passion for the Lord and Christ. And so for you, there's a regeneration process, which we know happens to the Christian, and you enjoy seeing that on the land. I mean, if we take, for the land and animals, I would imagine, but if we take an acre of land that's just dead, it's not fertile, it's growing a lot of junk grass, proper management, grazing management, you can improve it, and profitability is largely based on what you can do with the animals off of it. And it all has to work together to make that happen.
Well, it's kind of symbolic, right? I mean, and maybe that's all it is. I mean, maybe it's just a symbol, but we'll let the four-wheeler go by.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe it's all kind of a symbol, but you know, I guess if you think about maybe one's perspective, like, it's not like everything here just burns up and we quote unquote go to heaven. I think the promise of you know, the gospel is a new heavens and a new earth, right? And it's this idea of renewal, and obviously that's day to day happening in us, you know. It should be.
In Christ. That's right.
And we're not perfect by any stretch. We're not free from all of the woes of our own decisions.
We're seeking to live a life of sanctification.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a process, and so is regenerative agriculture, right? And so it's a nice, for me, it's a nice, almost like meditation, right? Almost like a picture of what should be happening in my life, and that continues to be kind of my core.
Wow.
And I don't get to say that a lot as a professor, right? Because I mean, you want to be you want to be involved in students' lives in different ways, but not necessarily overtly, you know.
Right.
Christian.
I mean, it's hard to do that. You're there to teach them science and how to do these things, right?
But it is fun to kind of share that perspective in this context.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, working on your grandpa's farm, what do you love? Is it a lot of the memories, I guess? But is it?
Yeah, you know, some of it is that for sure. Like, I go to places and I'm like, I remember exactly something that my grandpa said to me at this particular spot, and that's fun because he was like, was and is in many ways my hero. He's a World War II vet and was involved in like some concentration camp liberation in Germany, and just had a lot of really hard stories but good stories, and just a really, I mean, like any of us, he wasn't perfect.
It's a real American story.
Yeah, a real American story, and just a great example in my own life. And so that is definitely part of it. Another part of it too is I think we're always supposed to be moving things forward and doing things better and differently. And so there's a lot of stuff I do that my grandpa wouldn't do.
Sure.
And that's fun too. And so it's fun to sort of balance the legacy, memories, honoring piece with also the drive to do better and improve and do things differently. So like I use a lot of reproductive technologies, artificial insemination, and you know, genomic enhanced selection strategies, and lots of fun things that my grandpa would have never done. And that's still fun.
He didn't have any of that either, though.
For sure. And also, you know, grazing management, that certainly wasn't quite his thing or quite his focus, and I certainly don't make as much hay or put out as much hay as he did, and so there's lots of fun things to do a little bit differently, and that's also kind of that redemption story as well. So,
Well, what's your plan, Jordan, maybe for you personally and for your family? What's the name of your farm?
Yeah, so we don't necessarily have a farm name necessarily, but it's my wife and I's operation. Sort of started off even before we got married as kind of my own thing, and we, you know, in terms of what we're really, really passionate about, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are doing maybe what I want to see them do genetically in the kind of regenerative ag space
side of things.
Well, in the seed stock for regenerative ag systems kind of space. And so we're pretty passionate about that and kind of working towards a couple cool things in that space. And of course, that's just a little piece of my life. I mean, we do lots of stuff. I really get a lot of satisfaction consulting with individuals about, you know, getting their reproduction situation figured out on their farm, or maybe even just some big picture management things that they could do differently. So that continues to be an area of growth for me and rewarding things to be involved in. Speak a lot these days at events like this one. Hopefully get to, you know, mold students' minds in that context, and also in my classes on campus and differently, but still, you know, the same goal of just, you know, how do we make these operations make sense financially and also environmentally, and all of these sorts of things that are important. So continue to be really passionate about that and about the research, and just too many things going on sometimes, but it's fun.
So moving forward, you're going to do a lot of education, hopefully, so we'll see more of you. What's a good website, or do you have a website for you? Don't have one for your farm. What's the best way for people to reach you?
I was doing some farm social media stuff and website stuff for a while, and I've kind of pulled that back some until we kind of come out with what we're trying to do a little bit better. But
you mentioned Mizzou Repro. Is
so on professionally through the University of Missouri, you can find me through basically Missouri.edu. You can find me through that website, or I don't have an extension appointment anymore, but I'm still really easy to contact just as a professor you know, that has a research and teaching appointment. So you can definitely find me there. And I write a lot too, so you can still find
Okay.
articles and things that I've written
Yeah.
in lots of publications. So yeah.
Okay, well, good deal. Well, Jordan, thank you so much
you bet.
for letting me interview you, and thank you so much for making the time to come here today. And if you have any last thoughts you want to say, you're welcome to. What's going into your mind as you're leaving the field day today? I mean, I'm sure you're learning even as you're teaching here.
Well, what's fun, I think, is to see that, you know, in a group like this one, there's a lot of different perspectives, you know, and there's different perspectives about many of the things that I talked about, right? So I talked a lot today about kind of culling females based on reproductive performance from a commercial perspective, selecting females maybe for reproductive efficiency from lots of other perspectives, both commercially as investments and then also maybe genetically long-term as seed stock, right? And so it's really entertaining to me and also rewarding to see who that rubs the right way, who that rubs the wrong way.
Watching those wheels turn.
Yeah, watching
almost.
those wheels turn. And I always learn something from the questions that get asked and people's perspective. Like, what did I misspeak on? What did I not communicate very well? Sometimes my own thoughts evolve a little bit in response to questions too, and so that's really fun. And then it's, you know, in a way, my responsibility is to kind of stir the pot on things, because the South Pole breed has a lot of good cattle in it, I'm sure, but also has really great opportunities to take advantage of some cool things. So
right, there's a lot of things we could do more moving forward as for the industry. Just in general. Yeah. No, well, that's great, and thank you so much, Jordan.
Yeah, you bet.
And with that, gang, blessings for the journey, and keep it real.